Fellow Falcoholics, what is up? Welcome to the Falcoholic Podcast's Falcons vs. Panthers Week 10 game preview. I'm your host, Kevin Knight at Falcoholic Kevin, joined once again by Desmond Johnson. He is at Des_3505 on Twitter, host of the Bleav in Panthers podcast and some other stuff, which I'll probably butcher if I try to say it from memory. So, Desmond, let the people know where they can also find all of your stuff.
What's up, Kev? I feel like I just saw you. We I host the rundown with Desmond Johnson every Saturday morning here in the Triad, North Carolina, the Greensboro, Winston-Salem, High Point market, 10 a.m. to 12 noon live. It's a panel roundtable type discussion show with guests. As you mentioned, I'm the co-host of Bleav in Carolina Panthers podcast with Sports Illustrated Skylar Callahan, who's the beat writer for the Panthers, and Panthers all-time leading rusher Jonathan Stewart. The three of us are the Bleav in Panthers crew, and we have been going through it.
Yeah. Well, that's one of the things I wanted to talk about is because I remember it was 2 weeks ago, which is it's really been like 10 days or something. Because but like you came on last time and it was right after you guys waxed the Bucks, and Falcons fans were very happy with that outcome, certainly. And you guys were flying high, and honestly, you gave the Falcons more than they could handle. Falcons should have lost that game. And then now this Bengals game happens, which the Falcons are very familiar with losing big to the Bengals as well. So it seems like it's literally been just the full range of game outcomes since we last spoke, and I do wonder if it's changed your opinion on the team, or if the Bengals obviously coming off a Super Bowl, a very good team, but still, I mean, I'm sure that was a difficult watch. So yeah, just go ahead. Yeah, go ahead.
I think we did our top of the week episode yesterday or Monday, and Stu has actually been the positive one out of the three of us throughout this whole season. We kind of look at it like Stu is the positive guy. He's the one that's glass half full, we're still in it type guy, no matter what just happened. I'm more of the other way, emotional. This is horrible. Fire everybody, like that.
Yeah, you got to have that balance,
And then Skylar's like the voice of reason in the middle with stats and analysis and actually speaking to coaches and stuff like that. So we get this this pendulum that goes back and forth each week. When we were doing that episode yesterday, we still don't know what happened Sunday. It just literally was uncharacteristic of the Panthers for the past. Honestly, really, the past couple of years, really since Ron Rivera was here, because even with Matt Rule and all of his faults, the Panthers rarely got blown out. They rarely got blown. They were pretty close and pretty competitive most games. Their problem was they couldn't finish. And Sunday was the first time in a while where the Panthers just looked like they just did not belong on the football field that day. They just looked disinterested, uninterested, they weren't tackling properly. I didn't even bother to look at the box score until Monday. And PJ Walker I think he was 3 for 10 for 9 yards and 2 interceptions or something like that. And I was like, I don't think the Panthers could have did this if they tried to do this. The Rams game a couple of weeks before was kind of similar, where we didn't do a whole lot offensively. We were very vanilla, and it was mainly just feed it to McCaffrey. And then he got traded off 2 days later. This didn't even feel like that because we were still gaining yards in that game. The Bengals just came out and did every single aspect right for the whole game. If Joe Burrow is a game manager in your game, then something's going horribly wrong, because something else is going really right. And Joe Mixon just ran it up and down our backs the whole day. John Fox, our former coach, he used to say it all the time. We just picked a bad day to have a bad day. And I don't expect that on Thursday. If that happens Thursday, then panic will ensue for us, but I don't think that'll happen.
Yeah, because I mean, it was crazy to see the fall off offensively, particularly for PJ Walker, who just got done, putting on a masterclass against the Falcons essentially, and going up and down the field, and we had this shootout game. And then now we get to the Bengals, who of course have a very good offense. Don't get me wrong, but the defense has been improving and getting healthier. But man, I wasn't expecting that, certainly. Just a bad game. I mean, is what you sort of have to chalk it up to.
It just looked unprepared. Something, I don't know. The Panthers are good for one of those a year. Once a year, they'll have one game that's just unexplainable. They played horrible. chuck it, throw it in the trash can. Like, I hope they didn't even look at the tape of that game. Like, let's just move on, because we got the Falcons now in 2 days, and looking at this is not going to make us feel any better. They know what they did. They know they didn't play very well. So Coach Wilkes said it really well in the press conference Monday. He was asked if he was going to bench PJ Walker because of his play, and he flat out said, well, if I was benching people for bad play, there'd be a lot of people benched after Sunday. And he was right. So, I mean, that's why PJ's going to get the start Thursday. I do get the feeling that he's getting on a shorter leash now with Baker and Sam now healthy. We're probably going to see one of those two guys again, maybe in your game,
right.
depending on how it goes. So,
yeah, I mean, the Falcons are going to make any quarterback look good. We'll see. Very unlikely AJ Terrell's back for this one. My guess is that they're going to let him rest and then hope to get him back after the mini bye sort of. They did a walkthrough yesterday or whatever, but he was not estimated to have practiced. The Falcons have lost a couple guards since we last played 10 days ago. Elijah Wilkinson went on IR, and then Matt Hennessy came in for him, and then also got hurt last week. So we got Colby Gossett at left guard now, who was actually the starter filling in for Wilkinson in week 4. Did a great job. So it was a little bit surprising that they made a change there at the backup spot. But that's the only real change, I think, for the Falcons in terms of the injuries. Have there been any changes to the injury status of any Panthers players at this point?
It's still fairly early, but Dante Jackson did not play. He was suited up and he was available. He was active, but he did not play. He was in a baseball cap all day Sunday. He's still nursing a sprained ankle, so we'll see about that. Chuba Hubbard did not play. He also has a high ankle sprain. He did practice limited the week, though, so I think he may be ready for Thursday. My understanding with Jeremy Chin, he came off the IR last week, but he would have been available for the Bengals, but they decided to hold him an extra week. So it looks like the game plan is to get him out there for Thursday. It almost felt like, and Stu brought this up in the podcast episode Monday, it almost felt like the Panthers coach and staff, they decided the Falcons game was more important than the Bengals game. So knowing they were going to be on a short week and knowing that they had these 2 games here, if they had to choose between which ones to win, they were going to go with the Falcons game. Because it's a divisional game and you're still in it, even if you lose the Bengals. This division is so wacky. With us, we're 2-7 and we're 2 games out of first place in the NFC South. So it's like part of my soul wants to let go on the season because we're 2-7, and I think we're like in 3rd or 4th position.
Yeah, I think it's like 2nd or 3rd or something like that. Yeah.
But there's another part of me that I'm like, I remember the 2014 season where we entered December 3-8-1. And won the division. Like, yeah, it feels like it's shaping up like that. Who's going to be the hot team at the end after Thanksgiving? Whoever the hottest team in this division is after Thanksgiving will win the division, I feel like, because they're all kind of grouped together. Nobody's separating, and we'll be running through division games again at that point of the year. So I don't know. I'm starting to think whoever wins this division is going to be under 500. And
very well could be. Could be another one of those years where like an 8-9 winner.
Yeah. I mean, it's crazy to me, but that Stu, again, he's the optimist. He's the one that kind of keeps us looking forward. And even at 2-7, if they beat the Falcons on Thursday, they're a game out of first. So
yeah, and they'll have a very good divisional record. They'll be 3-1 in the division at that point, so that could be crucial as well. By the same token, very important game for the Falcons because they need to keep pace with Tampa Bay, who did beat the Rams, but I mean, let's face it, didn't look good in that game at all. So
it hasn't looked good all year, in my opinion, except for week 1. And even then, I think they only scored 20 points on the Cowboys. So it was like, I feel I've been praying for it for like 7 years to get
praying for their downfall.
Yeah, or just not the Bucks, just Tom Brady. Like, Tom Brady has been like
definitely
this thorn in my side as a Panther fan for years. And I feel like we're finally watching it happen. Him and Aaron Rodgers, we're kind of seeing this decline in their abilities. They can still throw it, but it's like they're not that MVP level anymore, which made them great. And I'm wondering if both of them are questioning if they should have came back or not, especially Tom.
Especially Tom, for potentially off-field reasons.
Yeah. Well, as you put Rodgers in there now at this point too, where he could have just walked off to the sunset, but somebody dangles $50 million in front of you to play, 17 games of football. If you go 2-15, so be it. And that might be the Packers are heading down. So
yeah. Yeah, lost 5 straight, the Packers. So it's definitely been a wild season on that account. That we've got those two teams faltering, and there's always a part of me that's like, oh well, the Bucks will just figure it out. You know, their Super Bowl year, they were mediocre the first half, and then just really got hot. But I mean, I don't know. They just look totally out of sorts. You know, we'll see. I think everyone's still sort of expecting that they'll just limp to the division title, but you know, well, it also wouldn't surprise me if any of these teams ended up making it. You know, we had the Saints blow out the Raiders last week and then get absolutely destroyed by the Ravens. So, like, I mean, it's just every team in this division is just like, well, let's flip a coin this week and we'll see, you know, we'll see which
one of us is going to show up. Yeah. Yep. I mean, it's Dr. Jekyll, Mr. Hyde pretty much for every single team except for Tampa. Tampa's been on this steady yuck type play throughout their entire season, but Carolina's had a couple bright spots. The Saints have had bright spots. You guys have had some bright spots. I don't know, like who, if you had to pick today a horse to ride, who would you go with out of these 4?
I don't know. I mean, maybe you think that the Falcons, if they go to Ritter and Ritter ends up being what they want him to be, that maybe, you know, because Mariota is just like every other game with Mariota. It's like, well, you know, how long is this going to last? I think I can't remember who did the numbers on this, but Mariota's 6 for 30 or 6 of 30 for I think like 200 yards on passes that travel 20 plus yards downfield with a bunch of interceptions as well. So like Arthur Smith is like every week now dialing up deep shots to open receivers that are just being missed. And
we got a couple of those last week.
Yeah.
Off of them, you know? So,
yeah. And it's like, you do wonder, because it's such an important part of Arthur Smith's offense, you know, and the Falcons, unlike last year, they have the run game. They have this run game that threatens and forces teams to stack the box, especially on early downs. And they just don't have the other half of the equation, which is like you need to be able to hit those deep shots off play action when you've pulled the defense into the box. And this is why I think you get this very erratic Falcons offense that some weeks puts up 30 points and other weeks puts up 17 and barely moves the ball, because they want to throw the ball deep and they continue to try to do it. It just rarely hits. So you wonder if that's what will eventually lead to Mariota potentially getting pulled for Desmond Ritter. But I also don't have any huge expectations for a 3rd round rookie coming in to like save the season. So it's like, no, I don't know that there's any great bets in this division. I mean, maybe you bet on the Panthers because you get the best odds, right? Like, like maybe you actually make some money on that one. So.
I mean, I feel like Atlanta's run game will help them the most as we get to colder months here. Because you guys run the ball better than anybody else in the division. We got caught on the RPO from you guys last week. We couldn't defend it really, and I'm hoping that they're, by holding chin, having them come back this Thursday. Derek Brown got pulled out of the game this past Sunday too. They just said due to illness. He started the game but didn't finish. I'm hopeful he'll be back, because once he was out, there was just a massive hole in our defensive line for them to run, and run they did. Mixon had 150 plus yards himself.
It was like 250 rushing yards or something. Jesus.
Yeah, just ridiculously getting gashed, like 7, 8, 9 yards every time they carried the ball, it felt like, which is typically not true for a Panther defense. They're usually pretty good on defense. This is a defense that was number 2 overall in yards allowed last year and has improved in terms of personnel. So that was eye-opening, but again, I don't expect the same thing to happen. Right. I do expect a sloppy game. I asked Stu about this because I wanted to know from a former player's perspective, Thursday night games in general, like how do the players enjoy playing them? He was like, absolutely not. He was like, Thursdays are typically the day when your body starts feeling like, okay, I might be ready to play tomorrow. You know, like that's usually around about Friday, Saturdays when you start feeling like you're ready to go again. On Thursday, your body's still recuperating from Sunday. You just played 4 days ago, running your body and other bodies for 3 hours. And usually that's why the Thursday night games usually aren't really good. They're I can't think of a really good Thursday night football game that's
maybe like the season opener was okay.
Yeah, usually the one kickoff one, because usually it's like the rematch of the Super Bowl or something like that.
But they didn't play a game before that, so it's like
right, yeah. So that didn't really go with it. I was going to say maybe Carolina, Denver in 2016
right.
after the Super Bowl or
That was
whatever.
pretty good, yeah.
But and even then, Cam probably felt like he did play the week before after that game was over with. They were trying to murder my guy on TV.
Right.
But other than that, yeah, it's like Thursday night. This is not real good. So if you're expecting good football on Thursday, I would not expect that between these two teams. No offense to the Falcons.
No.
And after what I just saw with the Panthers, I have no reason to believe that they're going to play super better. They can't play worse. So
well, you can only go up. So that's a positive.
Even if they just play average, it'll be better than what I watched Sunday. Sunday was like it was.
What was it? Was it 35-0 at one point?
It was 35-0 at the half, 42-0 start of the third quarter. It felt like a high school football game. It felt like a high school. I wish we had a running clock,
right?
Because it would have just made the game go and be done with it. But because the rest was just all you see 42-21, it makes it look closer than it was. It wasn't even that close. Like it felt like the Bengals won by 80.
Right. Like I imagine they started rotating guys and, the Bengals doing stuff like that.
Young guys. Yeah. And then eventually we did the same thing. Baker Mayfield played the second half. Yeah. All of our offensive stats are from Baker in trash time.
Right.
The problem is the trash time is the entire second half.
There's a lot of time for that.
There was a lot of time for it.
And how do you feel about them going back to PJ Walker again? Because I think it was the right decision. But I know there was some Panthers fans mad at me like, oh, he couldn't be worse than PJ Walker. It's like, well, I mean, PJ Walker also had the best game for a Panthers quarterback in like 2 years last week against the Falcons. So
during the game, I was like, we gotta figure this out next week regarding PJ. But with it being a short week and PJ playing well enough to not get yanked the past couple of weeks, I won't say that he secured the job enough to keep Baker and Sam at arm's length because he hasn't. He's had one 300-yard game. One win in 3 attempts. Granted, one of those was that Rams game, and another one was this past Sunday. So, and then the third one was the Atlanta overtime loss that went down to
should have won. Yeah,
yeah.
Like
so
that was not his fault.
So it's kind of hard to gauge PJ at this point. I don't think he did anything to justify benching him off of one game Sunday. Again, Coach Wilkes mentioned it in the press conference that he'd have to bench everybody if he was benching people off of the performance on Sunday, including himself. So I think PJ will play Thursday, but I think his window is getting smaller in terms of being able to show he can be the starter for the rest of the year. I'll be honest, I'm kind of interested in seeing Sam Darnold.
This is dark. This is dark timeline right here.
I'm all the way back around to Sam Darnold. Because I was thinking about it, and I'm like, okay, when Sam was at his worst with us last year, the offense was depleted, and he had a horrible offensive line. And he had Matt Rule as his head coach.
Well,
but the first 3 games of the year, he played great. He had an offense. Christian McCaffrey was still there. The offensive line was healthy. He hadn't lost his center yet, and he was playing pretty good. This offensive line is one of the best offensive lines he will ever play behind to this point in his career. The offense skill positions are relatively healthy. They've got a philosophy now of trying to run the football, which will help him. He's 25. Like, I don't know if I'm ready to just completely toss him in the trash without knowing for sure this year that he can't do this because he didn't get a chance to play with these guys this year. He's been on IR since preseason. So I wouldn't be surprised if we see Sam Darnold in this game Thursday. If things start going a certain way, he is active. He'll be active for this game. Should they play him over Baker? At this point, at 2-7, I just want to see what we have. Now, neither one of them are signed to us next year anyway. So
yeah, you have to think, especially if the Panthers were to lose this game, that they would just start like basically making this an extended tryout for potentially one of these guys to possibly be a bridge quarterback or
backup maybe or something. Yeah.
Because PJ is going to be. I think PJ is still under contract, but they do have Matt Corral as well.
No, so actually, I think this is PJ's last contract year too. The quarterback room clears out for us, except for Matt Corral after the season. So clearly, they're going to do some quarterback shopping, and I see Panther fans kind of already looking at the position in the draft and PJ Stroud.
Well, especially when you're picking in the top 3. Yeah, I mean, it's like it's easy to do that now. Yeah, but
again, it's hard for me to wrap my mind around that because we're 2 games out of first.
Well, yeah,
8 games to play.
And that's another interesting topic. And I know everyone, this is an unorthodox game preview, but as we talked about it before the show, it's like we just broke down these matchups. So go back like 4 episodes and you can listen to the matchups. Like nothing has changed.
Yeah.
So like this is just more of an in-depth, NFC South futures conversation. But like at this point, I mean, obviously you want to win games. Like I would not assume anyone is advocating for tanking, but like long term, I mean, do you think it would be better for the franchise if they ended up with an opportunity to draft one of the top 2, possibly 3 quarterbacks if you're a Will Levis fan, or do you really want them to try to win some games with the very likely possibility that you just end up getting out of position to draft a quarterback?
I want them to win some games. I'm tired of this.
I mean, nobody enjoys losing.
Certainly. Yeah, like I've literally had to write or do podcasts or report on this team for 4 years, and they have not had a winning season. Like I'm just over it. Like I'm so tired of going into Monday with this feeling of just like, oh, we got to do this again because the Panthers didn't hold up their end of the bargain or whatever. Yeah. I don't subscribe to the idea of one high draft pick changes your team in the NFL. That can happen in the NBA when there's 12 guys and a rotation of 8 guys. You get one guy like Victor Wembanyama or whatever. There's teams, they're saying my Hornets are kind of sneak tip trying to tank for him, which would be great. I don't know how they're gonna be able to pull that off for a full 82 game season. Right. They're trying. They're 3-8, so they're trying. But like you get a guy like that's like a generational talent. 7'3", plays like Kevin Durant, basically has handles. Yeah. Like that. Okay, that can change a franchise.
Yeah, I don't know. That's like acceptable in the NBA. Like people, that's something that teams actually do. So
and plus, the NBA recognizes that, so they do the draft lottery, so that you can't just tank and just get the guy. You'll get better chances, but you can't do it that way. In the NFL, it's really, really hard to tank on purpose. Miami tried to do it a couple years ago, remember? So they could get was it Tua? I think it was Tua, and they ended up getting him anyway.
And then they tried to pay the coach to do it again, and and
it was just, and now look at him. Now people are talking about him like a dark horse Super Bowl team. Yeah. But it's like you need there's so many quarterbacks in this draft that are gonna be good too. I like the kid from Florida, Anthony Richardson. I think he's
very high upside guy. Yeah. Hendon Hooker has really come on.
He's from up here. I did his high school games back in 2015 when his high school Dudley won the state championship. The thing with the knock with him is that he's 25, which I don't really consider a knock.
I don't really care. Yeah, it's like
I don't care about that.
Is he a good quarterback? All right, let's ride.
It's the franchise that most important Chris thing. Winkie. We drafted Chris Winkie. He was 28. Yeah. We drafted him. Yep. I just feel like you don't have to have a top 3 pick to get the quarterback that fits your system. And for us, we're sitting talking about get this quarterback or get that quarterback. We don't even know who the coach is going to be.
Right.
So how can we figure out what quarterback we want if we don't even know who the coach is yet? So like all this stuff talking about let's tank, get a draft pick and all this other stuff. Players don't tank. Coaches don't tank. Front offices try to tank, but even they can't do it full blown. There's no control over it. Right. These players are not out here practicing every week and going through all this to their bodies to lose football games, to appease the fans, to get one guy to come in here to save everything. Their jobs are on the line. They're putting
exactly.
So this notion of trying to tank in the NFL to me is just I laugh every time I hear it. But they will need a quarterback. I don't know what vets are going to be available. I really don't want to go that route because we've done that the last 3 years. I'd rather
maybe like a stopgap guy or something. But
I mean, you might have that on the roster already. If you bring back a Sam Darnold or a Baker Mayfield, that might be what they are while you groom. You do have Matt Corral that you traded up for. And Scott Fitterer, the GM, he's the one that picked him. So, I mean, there is still connection with him there. If you get another guy, create some competition there, who knows? But I think they are at a point where they're going to have to draft their quarterback, and I don't think you necessarily have to be a top 3 pick to get the guy.
Yeah, that's fair. It's been so brutal watching the Panthers like pass on quarterback like again and again, and it's not like I don't think the Panthers got bad players with any of those moves, but I just think it's really, you do wonder like what this team would be if they had taken like a Justin Fields or something like that. And Falcons fans ask the same question. And it's funny now because like it was like, oh, we should have taken Justin Fields, and then Justin Fields had a bad rookie year, and they were like, oh no, we were right to not take Justin Fields, and now he's having a good second year, and it's like, oh, we should have taken Justin Fields.
See, the Justin Fields question for me, I'm like, well, say we did draft Justin Fields, Matt Rule still would have been the head coach. Yeah. So how we have really truly gotten much better because all the same issues still would have been there, and we might have damage this dude's psyche at this point if
Right.
he had played, you know, like first couple games that way. So he just went through it with the Bears. They didn't know what to do with him last year. And now they're finally figuring out, oh, he can do this, he can do that. When he came out, him and Trevor Lawrence out of high school, they were both 1 and 1A. Like they were rated exactly the same, pretty much. He might be better than Lawrence, you know, as it goes on. But there's a lot of quarterbacks in this draft coming up. To be honest, the one I want the most isn't even going to be eligible, and that's Drake May at Carolina.
Yeah, he looks so good.
Yeah, he's going to be a stud at the next level, and we're going to be a year too early.
Yeah, that's always how it is. And that's why I hate the conversation of, you know, oh, it's okay, just take a quarterback next year. It's you have no idea.
Yeah, it's like, come on, man. I mean,
you have no idea what next year.
The quarterback class last year, like that class last year, Kenny Pickett, Malik Willis. Who else went in the first?
Ritter. Well,
Ritter
it was just
it was just
Pickett, and then it was what Ritter
Willis went like in the third, I think.
Yeah, I think it was Ritter, Willis, and
somebody
Corral.
else. Corral went in the third. We drafted
and then Sam Howell and Bailey Zappi.
Yeah, they went in the fourth or something. Yeah, so I mean that was the quarterback class for last year. Like this year it looks like they're going to be more in the first round. So
definitely,
you know that's fine, but don't reach. We don't need to reach for one. If we're sitting there and it's a quarterback we don't like, or Will Anderson sitting there, just grab Will Anderson. Like, I mean, don't overthink it. I just don't know if there's a generational talent in this draft coming up that I would really consider, you know, trying to ensure a top 3 pick for.
Right.
There is no Cam Newton. There is no Peyton Manning. There is no John Elway or someone that's universally accepted as the number 1 pick going into the draft. I don't believe there is one in this draft. So if there isn't one of those, then stop worrying about, you know, top 3 picks or where we land in the draft, because they still have some game. They got a month of football to play too. So
yeah. No, I and it's like you're absolutely right that even at 2-7, because of this division, Panthers very much alive. Falcons are going to be probably in it, even if they were to lose their next 3 games, they'd be in it by virtue of, you know, this division. So, you do wonder, like, if Carolina loses this game and goes down to 2-8 and then has the 2-2 divisional record, does that change things for the team, or do you think they're still like, well, it's? I mean, obviously they're not going to tank. We've covered that, but
yeah, they're going to play for Wilkes. I don't know. I mean, they just fired 2 coordinators Monday, so clearly they're trying to get whatever corrected. The defense has been trending in the opposite direction the past month, even before they let Rule go. I don't know if they can fix some of the issues. They have a foundation of guys they've drafted that I think will be great pros, 10-year pros: Ike Ekwonu, Brian Burns, Derek Brown, Jeremy Chin, J.C. Horn. They've got these dudes in spots, which is why the whole league was circling the Panthers, trying to get them to trade these guys out. So they do have talent on the roster, but they do have a lot of holes. Maybe not a lot of holes. They have big holes, like at quarterback. Tight end, that kind of linebacker. It's not the entire team. It's just pieces here and there. If they land it, if they hit it right, then they can hit the ground running next year. But again, I'm not willing to give up on the season. Like I keep getting reminded of 2014, because I gave up on the season 3 times. And and actually, what did it, if I remember correctly, Cam Newton flipped his truck on the interstate.
I remember
coming into the stadium and had to miss a game. It was against Tampa, I think, and Derek Anderson started for him, and we won that game. Cam came back the next week, and we rattled off like 4 straight and won the division. And then we beat Arizona in the playoff game.
I remember that game.
And the Panthers still hold the record for fewest yards allowed in a playoff game from that game. It's actually funny. I was watching Get Up this morning, and Marcus Spears actually mentioned the Panthers, and he was joking. He mentioned the Panthers, like, you know, like the year the Panthers went 6-10 and won the division and didn't win a playoff game. He was making a point about, even if whoever comes out the NFC South, they're not going to win the Super Bowl. So I tweeted him and was like, hey, I just heard you say blah, blah, blah. That wasn't right. We were 7-8-1. We actually won our playoff game, and we hold the record for fewest yards allowed or whatever. And I didn't expect him to hit me back, because he's live on TV, and he actually tweeted back.
Oh, wow, that's nice. Yeah.
He tweeted back and was like, sorry, big dog. I was making a point. It was a joke, blah, 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 blah. And I just told him that, sorry, we're very sensitive in Carolina right now when it comes to football. We're not footballing very well down here. And I just thought it was cool that he hit me in between commercial breaks.
Yeah, that's nice. That's
going
nice.
or whatever. I wasn't expecting him to do it at all, but somebody's gonna come out this division with below 500 record.
It's entirely possible.
And
unless somebody gets hot.
They're gonna win a playoff game. I feel like if somebody gets hot, it'll be one team. And it'll be like right after Thanksgiving, like the week after Thanksgiving, there'll be 5 games left. They'll probably all be division games. And to be honest, I would put my money on either Carolina or Atlanta, one of those two, because Atlanta can run the ball and Carolina's trying. Carolina was averaging 170 yards on the ground the past 2 weeks before last week. So they'll try to get back to that. Chuba Hubbard should be back.
Right.
Whoever runs the ball the best between Carolina and Atlanta, I think that'll be what happens. And I know your fans are probably looking at me like I'm nuts because Carolina's 2-7 at the back of the division right now. But again, they have 8 games and they've played the division well up to this point. The only loss was to Atlanta on a game where they should have won.
Should have won twice.
Yeah. So I mean, I feel like someone's going to win this division from behind, and it's going to be after Thanksgiving when stuff's going to get interesting. So this is actually a really important game.
Oh yeah, it is. It's vital because you think with the Falcons' next few games, they've got Carolina on Thursday night. So if the Falcons were to win this game, get back to 500, then they've got this stretch of games here where they've got the Bears and they've got the Commanders and they've got the Steelers, and it's like you could see the Falcons potentially, getting hot off of that group of teams. But yeah, I've told my listeners that, like, look, if you think the Falcons are going to make the playoffs, they need to go into the bye with the winning record, because they have to play Baltimore and Arizona and the Bucks and the Saints. And it's like, well, maybe the Bucks and the Saints, those games don't look so bad at this point, but you're going to have a tough time beating Baltimore, especially in December, and you're going to have a tough time beating Arizona, who, well, I don't know. We'll see. Arizona tends to play really bad in the second half of the season, so they might just fall off a cliff. But at any rate, I think it's like you're probably going 2-2 in that last 4 if things go your way. I think needing to go more than 2-2 in that last stretch is not going to work out. So if the Falcons want to make the playoffs, they need to win they need to go 3-1 basically over this next 4-game stretch, in my opinion. And I don't think they can afford another division loss because they're already 1-2, and it's like if you beat the Panthers here, you're 2-2, everything's fine. But if you lose the Panthers here and you're 1-3, then it's like, well, now you really can't afford to lose another division game at all. So, we'll see how it goes. I do think it's going to be another interesting game. I don't think it'll be as explosive as the last one, like you said. I think Thursday night probably going to be pretty sloppy, probably lower scoring affair. Probably ugly, yeah, probably very ugly. Yeah. But we'll just hope for another. Mostly, we'll have to hope for as few injuries as possible, and then just a good, as good as you could expect, hopefully, for a Thursday night game between these two teams. And I'm excited to watch it. This will be, it'll at least be an interesting Thursday night game for us, as fans of the two teams. I don't know about the rest of the NFL being too interested, but excited to watch it at least.
Yeah, I mean, like I said, at least we're still in it. Both teams. At least we have something to root for. Because any other year, we'd be looking at this and the Saints or the Bucks would have a 8-2 record or something at this point, and we'd just be out of it. But the fact that the whole division's bunched up is to continue to watch the game. So I gotta be thankful for that at least. Now you have to winning some football games. Let's try that. See how that feels. So
yeah, let's try. Yeah, I agree. I think the Falcons should employ that strategy as well. Yeah.
Yeah, why not? Yeah, just not this week. Wait till next week.
It's so simple. Yeah, it's so simple. Yeah. I don't know why they didn't try doing this before, but guys, he is Desmond Johnson at Des_3505 on the Twitters, the host of the Bleav in Panthers podcast, along with some other folks, as well as the Rundown with Desmond Johnson. Anything else you'd like to plug, Desmond, before we get out of here?
No, not really. Just keep pounding for the fans out there. And again, in the wise words of Jonathan Stewart, we're still in this. So just bear with them for a bit. They're going to show who they are over the next couple of weeks.
Yeah. Yeah, and I am hopeful that we can get you and Jonathan on here in the off season. We'll probably do some sort of retrospective and then looking ahead to the draft and the off season, that sort of thing. I know Jonathan couldn't make it today, but I know Falcons fans would love to hear from him, and the optimism is always nice to inject into two very dark franchises. Yeah. So, yeah, guys, I'm Kevin. I am Falcoholic Kevin. You can follow me there on the Twitters. For those of you listening to the podcast, leave us a 5-star review. If you're watching on YouTube, like and subscribe. You can also check out our Patreon for some exclusive perks. It's patreon.com/Falcoholic Live for early access, ad-free versions of all these episodes. And yeah, we'll be back. It's a short week, but we will be back Wednesday night for the next live show at 8 p.m. Eastern on YouTube. And then, of course, post-game show following the Thursday night slop fest, more than likely. But hey, it's our team, so we're gonna be there one way or the other. We're contractually obligated. I guess you guys don't have to, but come on, we all know we're gonna be there. So again, thanks to Desmond, and we will see you guys next time on the Falcoholic Podcast. Have a great day, folks.